Give a minute. Whoops. Okay.
Pearl, you may want to put your ear cables behind your ear because they're rubbing
Thank you.
against your
Yes, yes.
pearls.
Thank you. I heard that too. Thank you very much for that reminder. All right. For folks who just joined in, welcome. We are giving people a couple minutes or so to just trickle in.
Get yourself something to drink, some paper
That's
and
right.
pen. You may want to take some notes. It's going to be a very interesting conversation. I'm glad you're here.
And please type in where you're calling in from when you get a chance, and whether you got books ready to go or not. It'd be lovely
Oh,
to know
yeah.
that.
Camille and Fred from Florida. Awesome.
All right. I'm in Florida as well. We should connect further.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Pearl lives in
Tampa Bay
Florida.
area. Yep.
Yeah.
I think we're doing pretty good. So let me just get us going here and show my face as well. All right, here we go. Hello, Pat.
Hey. Hello.
Lovely hump day. Welcome, everyone.
Glad you're here. Welcome to Town Square Talk. I'm Pat Alva-Kraker.
And I'm Pearl Peng, co host of Town Square Talk.
So if this is your first time to Town Square Talk, we want to tell you a little bit about how we came to be, how Town Square Talk came to be. So Pearl and I mastermind on a number of projects, and we started discussing how COVID-19 was affecting our community, our friends, and our businesses. And we decided to put our heads together and decide what can we do to help people thrive through the chaos, really step into their power and really do well during this transition, this new normal, this unknown. And we came up with this show.
Exactly. And
And
we love our masterminding sessions, don't we?
yes, we do. And this is our ninth episode.
Yes.
Ninth episode. So we're excited that you're with us.
It's been a wonderful journey.
For many of you, you're meeting us for the first time. I'm Pat. I am an entrepreneur. I work with women entrepreneurs who have businesses in real estate or in IT and are looking for ways to consciously grow their business. And when you work with me, we together combine your human blueprint, your top 5 talents, and the desires of your heart and soul to create a business and a life that you will love. I'm an author. I have a book that's coming out in the fall called Catherine's Quest, One Woman's Journey to Elation. And I've also started a online meetup group for conscious business owners. We meet the first Thursday of every evening, the first Thursday of the month from 6:30 to 7:30 Central Time. And it is for women entrepreneurs who see their business as part of their sacred paths. And we teach tools and practices that will grow your business consciously. And we also have networking opportunities as part of the hour. Please join me and visit my website at Majestic Coaching Group to learn a little bit more about me.
Awesome, Pat. And my name is Pearl Peng, co host of Town Square Talk and founder and CEO of Benchmark Maven, a company passionate and dedicated to human growth and evolution. I work with visionary and authentic C suite executives, business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals who are engaged in their personal awakening and are seeking to achieve greater outcome in their careers and personal lives in new, perhaps unconventional and innovative ways. And prior to that, I had built a reputation as a top multicultural and multilingual consultant with over 17 years at IBM. And that's actually where Pat and I connected, since she worked for IBM previously as well. and also in the Fortune 500 world for over 25 years, leading work teams, both global and local, solving some of their most complex and toughest business transformation issues. And over the 20 years ago, I finally accepted the calling to become an energy healer and have also been teaching yoga qigong for the past 4 years. And if you wish to learn more about me and my company, Benchmark Maven, please visit my website at benchmarkmaven.com.
Yay.
And here we are having
Welcome.
wonderful.
Yes, we have a juicy topic today, and there is so much to learn about this topic. We're going to pour into all of you for the next 45 minutes on the new norm for book launching. Today's guest is a book marketing consultant who specializes on online marketing. She founded Buy the Book Marketing in 2005 after discovering a real need for marketing services for self-published authors in Metro Denver. She has been in sales and marketing most of her working life, and has a master's degree in library science. This library education has been useful in researching marketing, all kinds of backgrounds and materials for her clients, but she still doesn't know the Dewey Decimal System. That cracks me up. That cracks me up. By the Book Marketing, author services include marketing plans for growing online visibility, individual coaching for social media and marketing, and teaching online courses for authors. Help me welcome Mary Walewski.
Welcome,
Hi.
Mary.
Walewski.
Thanks very much.
Welcome, welcome. So you have such an interesting background, Mary, a combination of different types of left brain and right brain technologies. Tell us more about your story.
Well, I do have a very weird background in that I started out working in print advertising, which, shows a little bit of how old I am. And oh, well, but I admit to that. I started working with community newspapers and sold advertising space. And I decided after 10 years of working to go and get my library degree. And I thought I'd like to work in a quiet library, and just shush people all day. Except I went to a program that was very activist minded in terms of information technology. And this was the early 90s. So the internet was just getting started. And so when I graduated, I ended up going to work for a tech company. And I actually managed a technical archive for, they were banking products, not exciting, but I learned a lot and went eventually into sales. But after I got laid off, I started consulting, and I was selling, actually I went back to selling advertising again for a nursing publication. There was a woman there who was just starting off as a speaker and an author. And she asked me if I'd help her with marketing her book. And I said, Mary Jo, don't know a thing about marketing books. And she said, that's okay, neither do I. Let's figure it out together. And so she told me to buy a copy of Dan Poynter's self-publishing manual, which was the Bible at the time. I think it's gone through like 24 editions. And we started figuring it out. But here was the funny part. She started referring me to other authors and the phone started to ring. And everybody started by saying the same thing. Mary Jo told me to call you and I need help selling my book. So I thought, holy cow, I have a business.
There you go.
And that was over 15 years ago. So I just kept wading in deeper and deeper and gave my notice to the nursing paper and said, hey, see ya. And it's been, one project after another ever since. I think I've been very fortunate. I found something that I could really enjoy because there's something different every time.
Yes. That is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That was a great story. So I am sure quite a few people joining us on Facebook side or perhaps other platform is not familiar with a book launch. Would you please define what a book launch is?
Well, if you think of a book as any other kind of product, you can't just let it loose on the marketplace and expect everybody to find it. You really do have to draw people to it. And there's I believe over 300,000 self-published books being published every year, a total over 1 million being published conventionally as well. So you have to do something to bring your book to people's attention, or no one's ever going to find you. So a launch is one way to do it. And it really starts with a party for your friends and your family. Yeah. Can you think of anything better than to launch with a big party?
I love it.
And what usually happens is, the author has been slaving along with their self-publishing team, if they're publishing this way, for months. And they're picking this book apart inch by inch. And when it's finally done, the best thing that they can do is have a party and celebrate with friends and family. And the ones I've gone to have normally been in a bar or a restaurant, with lots of food and lots of drinks and a table where the author can sign books. And it's usually a huge amount of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, now in this time of COVID, we've had to be a little bit more creative. And we'll talk a little bit about how we're doing book launches now. But it starts with just letting people know in your immediate circle that, hey, guess what I did? Because your friends want to help you, and good friends buy your book.
Yes, and that is true. And so why is it important to even have a book launch?
Well, it really goes back to, I do think you need to mentally shift your gears more than anything, because when you start, you just think, oh, everybody's going to buy my book. But you really do have to go into sales mode a little bit. And it has to be a way that's comfortable for you. But you do have to actually shift your thinking in terms of, now I have to get into action. And there's a big difference between the energy you put out when you're trying to produce this book, whether it's the writing, the proofing, making sure all the details are right, to actively calling up people and contacting people for interviews and letting the local newspaper know and getting it into bookstores and all sorts of things like that. So it kind of helps shift you. But also, too, it's just so important to start letting people know that you exist, because you don't have to let the whole world know. You just have to let the people know who are going to be most interested in your book. And that's a more defined market.
Mm-hmm. And that's really important, that level of clarity in your
You really do need to be specific. Whenever somebody tells me their book is for everyone, I have to correct them nicely and say no, because that means it's for no one.
Yes.
And I had someone insist that to me once, and I said, well, what kind of book is it? And he said, science fiction. I said, well, I don't read science fiction. So you need to define it down a little bit. And that actually makes it more powerful, not less.
Yeah, that's true.
So interesting to know that. I bet there are different types of authors seeking your help. And with that in mind, do you recommend a book launch for every type of authors? And if so, are there any differences?
I would recommend some kind of an opening for just about everyone, because again, nobody's going to really know your book is there unless you announce it. And I was just thinking about that. I've got the most diverse group of clients right now that I think I've ever had. I was researching alcoholism and addiction memoirs today. And I was also looking at travel blogs and travel podcasts, and also ones on reincarnation and paranormal activity.
Oh, fascinating. What a mix.
Like I said, I'm never bored. And, each one of them has, they need to do some kind of a launch. It's just that, maybe the addiction memoir is going to be a dry party instead of a booze one, obviously. But, everybody really does benefit from it, because it does serve to let people know that it's there. Now, maybe if it's an academic title, maybe you're not going to be, throwing the big party. But for the most part, I can't think of really too many exceptions. You know, children's books, and you don't have to do them. You can do them in inventive ways too. Like, you know, you do a cookbook in a cookware store or even a grocery store. An Italian cookbook, maybe it's in a restaurant. I've seen some very creative things. I work with an author who writes about the women pilots of World War II. And I believe she did one of her launches at an aviation museum.
Yeah, I'd love to read that book. That
So
sounds
you know,
fascinating.
believe me, I can give you a list. She's written
Yeah.
10.
That is amazing.
So
What a background, even just your own personal growth in supporting other authors, as I'm sure has been incredible at all different levels.
you know, the cool thing is I learned a little bit of something, you know, about everybody's topic. And that's what keeps me interested. When I was working in high tech and it was banking and securities and stuff, really had very limited knowledge going in. I ended up learning a hell of a lot in spite of myself because it was not my favorite topic. But with authors, you tap into their passion. And that's the really fun part about doing this kind of work. And it may be something that is totally new to me. Like, I didn't know till today that addiction memoirs are an up and coming genre in books. But I started digging into this, and because I'm working with a memoir, and hey, I'm going to be learning an awful lot about it in the next few weeks.
How fascinating!
Yeah.
You know, one of the reasons that we put this this talk together, this program together, was because of COVID-19. And we knew with all the chaos that a new normal would emerge. So what is the new normal in your industry?
Yeah, the new normal is really online, and it's, you know, in a lot of ways it's the old normal because it's a relatively level playing field when you promote your stuff, your book or your product or your business online. But now it's almost exclusively online, and you know, very slowly bookstores are starting to open up. They're offering curb delivery and things like that. And in my state, in Colorado, they're very slowly starting to open restaurants and bars and things like that. And I figure, and a lot of retail is back open again. But they're doing it very slowly. So I do think probably by the end of the summer, early fall, we'll be able to do in-person launches again. But in the meantime, we're doing them on Zoom. And we're doing them on Facebook Live. And in a way, it's kind of cool because the Zoom launch that I just participated in about a month ago, it was a travel memoir. It was actually a memoir of living abroad. The author, Doreen Cumberford, had spent 15 years living in Saudi Arabia. Her husband worked for Aramco. And she wrote a memoir about it called Life in the Camel Lane. So hi, Doreen, if you're there. Anyway, we decided to do the launch on Zoom because her party was not going to happen here in Denver. In fact, she is still in Mexico. She and her husband have been marooned there for months because the borders have been closed. So as a result of doing it on Zoom, about 90 people were able to join us for the launch from all over the world because they have friends in Europe, they have friends in England and United States. There were some that joined from their community in San Miguel, Mexico. So it was a great party. And everybody had their beverage of choice. Some had cocktails, some had, you know, tea or whatever, depending on what time zone they were in. And it was a blast. They had this wonderful, you know, reunion with all of their friends. And she sold some books. So, okay.
Yeah, I can't go wrong.
It actually was a lot of fun. I had no idea what to expect. We did some quizzes, we did some book giveaways, and everybody had a great time. It was only about an hour. But, you know, I think it was really, really fun for them. So
that's cool.
They said they're probably going to do a party when they get back to Denver. They actually live about 10 minutes from me in the metro area, but we've never met face to face. We've been working long distance this whole time.
Wow.
Interesting.
That is fascinating. Yes.
Yeah. So how, what are your clients doing in terms of getting all these virtual launch and perhaps other ways
Well, we're doing a lot more with, Facebook Live. Another client did her launch on Facebook Live, which was a lot of fun. And she had a giveaway that was really fun. If we bought a copy of her book, she would do a drawing, and she would name one of her characters after the winner in her next book. So I said, okay. So I said, okay, if I win, I want to be a villain.
That is some way to engage your.
I didn't win, but oh well. So yeah, so Helen Starbuck is the author, and she just wrote a romantic suspense novel. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. We did that, but people are becoming more aware of other possibilities for promoting their books online. We're doing a lot more Facebook advertising. We're doing some advertising on Amazon. We're doing virtual book tours. I've been pursuing podcast interviews for clients for months now. That's become such a popular thing.
Yes.
I've seen people get very creative. Children's book author I've been working with, Sunny Weber, has been reading her books and filming herself, and she's putting the videos up on YouTube.
Sounds like
so. Yeah, everybody's thinking about some really cool things, and the technology is there. Mm-hmm. You no longer have to have advanced degrees in order to film yourself to go on YouTube. All you need is your iPhone and a little stand and nice lighting.
And you got it. So there is, based on what you've just said, is there some level of technology background that is needed on the part of the authors? Do they have to jump in at some level in the book launch?
A lot of times I'm the one that's teaching them.
Okay.
And that's okay. I don't consider myself the most technical person in the world, but I kind of got thrown in the deep end when I took the job in high tech. And actually, when I went to grad school in the 90s to go to library school, my advisor said, "Oh, and you'll need a computer." And I said, "I guess that electric typewriter doesn't cut it anymore, huh?" And he laughed and he said, "No." So I had to learn how to use a computer, to go through graduate school. And then the company I joined had a training program. So I was taking classes and you just get better at it. And so what I tell authors is, look, all I really need you to do is be willing to learn. Mm-hmm. I can teach you. And, there's no code involved or anything like that, but it's gotten simplified to where I can manage a website and they can learn to manage a website if they care enough to learn it.
Sure.
Now, some people don't want to touch it, but for the most part, I've got, my favorite author, Sarah, the World War II author, is 83. Sorry, Sarah, if you don't want that going around, but she came to me and said, "I want to learn how to blog." I said, "Okay." And she was a newspaper reporter, so the blogging part, the writing part, was no problem at all for her. I just had to teach her how to put her posts up. So I tell everyone, look, if I can learn how to use this stuff, so can you.
And you
so is a book launch a one and done?
It's kind of the start of a marathon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a sprint. The biggest mistake that authors often make is they stop marketing after about 3 months. They figure, okay, I'm done. And it's really an ongoing process that this kind of gets you moving.
Okay.
But how cool is it that you might meet someone because of a friend who refers you, who happens to have a nephew who's doing a podcast.
Yeah.
And when you start making those connections, that's when you start to really get some traction. Or they're a member of a service club and they'd love to have you come in as a speaker. Or they're a teacher and you just wrote a children's book and they want you to come in and do a book reading and maybe sell copies of your books or something like that. And people fall into those experiences all the time. And the main thing is to get out there and circulate enough and be aware of what the possibilities are. And it's always fun when they start finding these things and they get so excited and they call me up and say, "I'm going to be on a podcast," or "I'm going to be on radio," or so-and-so got me on the morning show on Channel 2. So yeah, but to do that, you have to get out there. And I think that's hard to blast authors into that. A lot of people get it into instinctively. Others have to be persuaded.
I remember last time we spoke, you mentioned keynote speaking as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear what you said.
Last time we spoke, you mentioned keynote.
Keynote speaking, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people are speakers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, that's how my first client, Mary Jo Fay, started. She was becoming a speaker and she decided to write the book to sell at the back of the room. And that's what a lot of speakers normally do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not so much about the book sales in that case, it's really about writing that book as a calling card. Because nobody throws a book away. So if you want to get in to see the event planner at some big company because of their annual conference or whatever, sending them a book is probably the smartest move you'll make, because that beats anything that you can make up and put into a folder. Send them a book. So yeah, keynotes are a big thing, as well as and people are doing their keynotes right now by Zoom. Mm-hmm. From what I've seen. In fact, Pat, some of your connections had mentioned that they were starting to get into conferences again by doing their delivery like this, like we are right now.
Yeah, I think that once we've that we've explored Zoom as a possibility for so many things, I don't think we'll ever go back.
Well, I think more and more we're going to be doing it. I've used this Zoom for years because I work with people all over the country. And for a while, I was working with people in France and Australia and all over the place. One was in Israel. So this was actually the easiest way for us to meet. Though the lady I worked with in Trinidad, we had to meet on Facebook Messenger on the video. We could not get Zoom to work there. I don't know why. But yeah, we're doing it more and more anyway. And I think one interesting thing that's happened is so many businesses have figured out that their employees can be very productive working this way. Yeah. I think we all just eat more, that's all. But I've been working at home for years, so.
Yeah, we have to.
My dog loves it.
Yes. Get a lot of attention.
That's what a good book can do for us. Too, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, it can really open up doors for you because I think there's a nice cachet that anyone who, especially if you're a speaker or a consultant, to be able to say and in my book.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So, one of my favorite types of clients to work with are consultants who are also becoming authors, because it really does add a great dimension to their consulting business. Mm-hmm. And the emphasis isn't so much on selling the book, it's really on selling the bigger services, the courses they may do, the speaking engagements, the consulting. That's really where authors can make the most inroads, on their market, and also make more money, because we're talking about a $20 product. The people that really do the best are the ones that also develop products that go along with the books. Mm-hmm. So it may be courses, it may be keynotes, who knows?
Yeah, one of the trends that I've seen is actually using your book as a foundation of your business.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I've seen a lot of people do that who were starting off with consulting, but I just had a client who was just starting off as a consultant. He had been a business owner, he had sold it, and he's still a young man, and he thought, now what? So he wrote his memoir, which also was partly a how-to in managing a business, and more importantly, to selling the business. That was a big part of what he had to offer. And he was using it as a jumping off point for his new consulting business. And I thought that was a great move. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when would the author start to reach out to contact you for help for marketing their book?
You know, I've had people call me up, 6 months after the launch, but what I really love is when people bring me in early in the production. When I first started, it was usually because they had a garage full of books that they were trying to sell.
Mm.
Because in the bad old days, people were printing, 1,000 copies or more of their book because they got a real good deal from the printer. And now that we're working mostly on print on demand with digital presses, they're starting out with maybe 100 books, which is far more manageable.
Yes.
And a lot of them are working with good publishing coaches who are seeing the benefits of bringing in the marketing early enough. I like to talk to people when the manuscript has gone to the editor, because they've at least gone through some of the initial stuff. They have a pretty good idea on the title, though sometimes, and in the case of this business book, we actually did have to brainstorm the title again because it didn't quite work. But that's when we can really, I can do all the research on who the niche markets are, so we know who the book should be delivered to. And if I've read the manuscript, I can also point out where we could actually enhance it better. In the case of this business book, it was mostly about, it was his memoir. But he also wanted it to be a book for millennials who were thinking of starting a business. Well, I started doing the research and we realized that millennials like the idea of starting a business, but many of them are very risk averse. And the reason they are is they're graduating with a ton of debt, college debt. And the average age of someone starting a business is 42. So I called them up and I said, no, Steve, what we got to do is really, this should be for people who have been out in the workplace for a while and they're thinking of starting a business after getting some experience. And the stats that I was finding from Department of Labor and SBA and places like that were leading us to an older demographic, so 42 and older, because there were even a fair amount of people in their 60s starting businesses. They retired, they got bored, and they started a business. And also in the editorial side, we wanted to add some tips for people who were thinking of starting a business. So that actually got expanded when the manuscript was still kind of being formed. So there's a huge advantage bringing in the marketing at that point. People always think, oh, well, first I finish the book, then I bring in the marketing. And it's so much easier if we do it early. Because I can also be preparing the media kit for them. We can be talking about what goes on the website. We can be writing the press releases. We can be setting up the social media. So when you get ready to launch, it's ready. We're not scrambling.
So what is a media? What's a media kit?
Media kit is all the stuff that you're going to be copying and pasting for the next 2 years. For everything. It's your bio, it's a press release about your book, maybe the book description. And I usually write these in different lengths. The reason being, we may only need 50 words somewhere, and other places we need 300 words. So we write different versions, and also you'd want to tailor it for different markets.
I see.
So it may be that you have, 2 very different markets that are interested, so you have to slant the press kit a little bit differently. But if you have all that ready for people to download, say the local TV station wants to do an interview with you, and they realize they don't have a copy of your book cover. Well, they want to be able to go to your website, download it right away, and have it ready to go. So that's also part of the kit. Also your picture, if it needs to be. So there could be other things in there too. Sometimes it's if you get a really great review from, say, Kirkus Review or Blue Ink or something like that. So you want to have all of that stuff ready, and all they have to do is download it, and it's a zip file, and they have all that info for you.
That makes sense.
And also for you too, you want to be able to just go in and copy and paste something if you're entering a book contest and you have to put a description in of your book, instead of thinking, oh, I have to write that. So I make things a little bit easier for people by making them do all that stuff, or do it for them.
So what I'm hearing is it's really more than just the initial Zoom party. It's the kits. It's helping them get on podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
helping them get on stage if necessary, and all the supporting uh, tech stuff that goes along with it.
And it's also having a plan.
Yeah, more importantly, right?
Yeah, a lot of people do marketing by, it's kind of like throwing spaghetti against a wall and seeing what sticks.
Mhm.
If that doesn't work, you try something else. Well, it's so much easier to do all this stuff if you know going in that, who your market is, so you're writing for that market and your copy is directed towards that. And you know that you're going to be doing these following activities. You're going to be looking for podcasts, perhaps. You're going to be thinking about doing a giveaway of your ebook. You're going to be doing your audiobook 6 months out. And if you have some sort of rough plan, because there's always things that show up that kind of change things. That way you're not just scrambling all the time thinking, oh God, I have to do this, I have to do this. And, because everybody thinks there's about 20,000 things they should be doing at once. And if you're taking the time to kind of map it out on a little calendar, it does make things a little easier. And you actually have your weekends off.
That's lovely.
Yeah. Well, it's scary when you first think about it. I get people calling me in a panic thinking, well, I haven't done this and I haven't done this and I haven't done this. And I said, okay, wait a minute.
Mhm.
Let's do this one at a time. First of all, do you have your website up?
Mhm.
Let's start there. And then you don't have to be on all the social media, but you do need to be where your audience is. So, one step at a time, and, we kind of go through this very methodically. And, if I'm not setting the stuff up, my assistant is, and we're getting everything put into place. It seems kind of slow at first, but it's really about sweating the details because it pays you back later.
With all of years of experience, are some of the common mistakes?
Oh, there are so many.
Tell us.
That's a really good question. I'd say the biggest mistake is you write your book essentially for yourself, and that's okay. But you also have to write it with the idea that you're going to sell it and who it's for. And a lot of times people really don't think about that. I'd say a lot of the people who decide to self-publish a book are writing a passion project. And it could be the novel that's been in their head for years and years, and they're finally going to get it out, or they're an expert at doing something and they really want to share that, or they really want to help people. And that's wonderful. I love that. But they also have to think about who they're going to sell it to. And if you don't have that in mind, you're going to be scrambling after the fact, or someone like me is going to be trying to figure out who to sell it to. And I'd say that's a big one. The other is to stop marketing after 90 days. I've seen that happen too. Or worse yet, say, well, everybody's going to buy it, not as soon as I get it on Amazon, so I have to market it. Or my publisher will do all of that. And publishers really don't do all of that. So, those are some of the common ones. I'd say the other big thing that that I see happens a lot is, they just kind of lose steam. And a lot of times too, they're in such a hurry to write a series, they're really not paying attention to marketing each book. They're just on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So they just keep publishing, but none of them really sell because they haven't really established their branding and their place in the genre.
In the a following.
Yeah, and if you do it right, and if you really work on building a mailing list and getting a group of people who are really vocally, enthusiastic about your work, it's so much easier to sell the next one because you've already done a lot of that hard work and addressing who you best serve. If I write a book about urban beekeeping, for example, and I reach out to all the garden clubs in Denver, or the urban farm, organizations, all the cities have them, and really do that you know, if I come up with a follow-up with, you know, what to do with the honey or something like that, you know, I've already got this group of people who already wants to buy my book.
Yeah.
And that will make it so much easier for you as you keep moving forward, is to keep building on that market. Even if you switch genres, a lot of people are going to be saying, hey, whatever she writes, I want to buy.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
Well, think about this. The last time you found a new author that you really liked, after you finished that first book, did you immediately start checking out to see what else they wrote?
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Yeah, I did. I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Even
And
do
I
too.
immediately start saying, oh, what else you got?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I love this book. I
Even
love this book.
halfway.
What else?
Yes.
What else do you have?
Mhm. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's one cool thing about Goodreads. You can actually kind of track that.
Oh, that's interesting. So tell us about Goodreads. What is that?
Goodreads is a social media site for people who like to read books.
Okay.
Is that perfect for authors or what? Amazon bought them several years ago. There's 90 million people on there.
Oh my God.
It started as really a place where I think people can just, you know, create a reader's account and then track, you know, what books they're reading and share it with other people who like the same kinds of books, and there are discussion groups and cool things like that. But then, you know, authors of course are on there too, and they get to chat with people about, you know, why they had their heroine do this particular thing in their latest suspense novel, or, you know, or why they don't let so and so get together in their series and all this stuff. So yeah, it's a fun place for people to exchange, and best of all, it's also a good place for authors to get reviews, and reviews are one of those things that everybody is scrambling for.
Yeah, those are really important.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you have some. We actually have a question
Ooh, okay.
from Sarah Graham, and she's saying, how many months do you create a first-time author book launch?
How many months ahead?
How many months ahead? Yeah.
You know, if you're starting, let's just say that your book was in editing right now, and you were planning on launching in, say, September, which is a fairly long period.
It is.
I would say, you know, now would not be too soon to be thinking about, well, if I want to have it at, you know, this restaurant, you can start at least having the conversation with people, you know, at that place. Do they think they're going to be open? What might be some of the restrictions, you know, so on and so on. And if you decide you're going to do it live on, say, Zoom or Facebook Live or something, well, then you have a little bit more lead time, because we actually had to do that Zoom launch within, I think we planned it for about 2 or 3 weeks. You know, I mean, it wasn't very long because there's a lot more logistics if it's a live event.
Yes.
But I would start far enough ahead of time that if you are able to have it in a restaurant or someplace, that you, first of all, you need to book the area, and then you start figuring out who you're going to invite. The cool thing is, it's really not about bringing in people who don't know you, who you want to sell the book to. It's really about just celebrating. So, you know, a lot of people have them at their house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's really just about celebrating with friends and family. But for everything else, like if we were, you know, talking about the same timeline, this would also be the time that would be great to start working about, thinking about your marketing, you know, how you want to present yourself. If you don't have a website, now's a great time to do it, because while your editor has it, you don't have anything else to do. So
Might as well.
web people, you can be starting to write the copy.
Mm-hmm. We talked about that you do require some level of technology experience, or hopefully they're willing to jump in. What other expectations do you have of the clients that you work with? That was a question that just came in.
You know, that's a really great question. I would say you just have to be open to the idea that you're going to get a little out of your comfort zone. If you're not used to talking to a lot of people and you're very shy and retiring, this might be something to consider, either hiring a speaking coach, maybe doing Toastmasters. Mm-hmm. So you get used to speaking in front of groups and get a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
And I tell people too, if you're really adamant about not speaking in public, that's okay. You don't have to, because if it's something you absolutely loathe doing, you're not going to be very good at it anyway.
It won't
But
be
I'd
fun.
say you kind of have to be open to the possibility. It's like starting an exciting new job that you're thrilled to be doing it, but you're way out of your depth. So make an effort to learn. We have a great trade group here in town, actually several groups. There's a lot of meetups on publishing. There's also the Colorado Independent Publishers Association. I'm a past president of that group, and also a board member. And it helps to talk to other authors and really exchange war stories. And you get to meet, if you really love their cover, find out who their cover designer is. If you're thinking of doing an audiobook, how did you do that? Do you know someone who can be a speaker, can coach me on speaking? I mean, there's a lot of cool things like that it really does help to learn from other people. And, fellow authors are usually a very giving bunch because they've all been there.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like they're your competition. They're not, because people own lots of books.
And everybody's unique.
They are, and authors love to talk about their work. If you ever need to start a conversation with an author, all you have to say is, tell me about your book. And then stand back. Because it's fun to talk about, but best of all, they share information, and that is so valuable for anyone who's just starting out in this. You don't know what you don't know. And that is really the biggest barrier, because you can make very expensive mistakes. So I'd say the technology is almost secondary, but you have to learn the business. And the best way to learn the business is to talk to other authors. Yeah, and take courses, and, just really go out of your way to become a student of it.
There's probably we've got another question here. Is that probably people come in saying, yeah, I feel that they have, they've got the best book and they're looking to be a New York Times bestseller. What kind of conversation do you have with them?
Well, if they're a first-time author, they're probably better off not self-publishing. That if they're really serious about wanting to get into, one of the big 5 publishers in New York or something like that, they need to really make it their business to find an agent. And that's kind of hard to do. There are good agents out there that will take on newcomers and everything, but you've got to be prepared to do a lot of work. And I always remember a good author told me years ago that every author worth their salt has a few bad manuscripts in the drawer. First time off the gate, first book, it came to you in a dream and you wrote it down. It's probably an okay book with a good editor, but is it New York Times bestseller material? I don't know. But you're going to have to work a little bit harder to get it in front of, the right people that will get it on there. They usually, self-published books rarely get onto those bestseller lists. I used to, the question I used to get when I first started is, can you get me on Oprah? And I'd be like, no. Really wish I could, but no. And the reason is Oprah's people were not interested in solicitations. They want to find stuff on their own. So if you're visible everywhere, maybe they'll find you. But you can't, it was impossible to get in front of them. Because I actually looked into that, but it didn't really work. I'd say you just have to be prepared to really start working at it. I've heard people say get an MFA. I don't know if that's really the key, but
what is that?
Masters of Fine Arts in Creative Writing. And I think that would be useful in terms of you would write a lot and you would get into literary magazines and things like that. I think it kind of depends on what you're writing. If you're writing literary fiction, that's probably a good way to go. But if you're writing a how-to book, not so much.
Who do you work best with?
I'm sorry?
Who do you work best with, Mary?
I do love to work with nonfiction authors, especially consultants. That's one that I have a lot of fun with. But some of the most fun I've had have been with mystery authors, some cool spiritual memoirs, a lot of cool stuff. I'd say it's really someone who's willing to go the extra mile to make their book successful. If they're open to it, I will teach them. And I'd say the people that are the hardest to work with are the ones that want me to do it all and don't want to contribute. And I kind of tell them up front, I need you here because I can't be you.
Yeah.
So I can't just, not talk to you at all and go off and do stuff. I need to be talking to you because I need to have your input.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so if you're willing to do that, then we can do it. My other requirement is that we have fun doing it.
I know. I totally agree with that. Right.
It's got to be fun, or it's just a job.
Love it.
It gets heavy.
Yeah, and nobody's having any fun. And frankly, some of the stuff is just funny as hell.
Mhm.
You run into these crazy podcasters and these bloggers that are just a riot to deal with, and you just have a great time.
So fun.
Yeah. So and you learn, and like I said, you learn a lot.
So I believe we have quite a few people that are interested
Mhm.
in working with you, getting to know you. How do they connect with you?
They can go to my website, which is bythebookmarketing.com. And there's a contact page there. Shoot me an email. I do offer a free 30-minute phone consult just to get acquainted. So we can, I can learn a little bit about your book. You can learn about what I can do, and see if we're a match. I'm not the perfect person to work with for everybody, but if we hit it off and everything else, great. Let's see what we can do to work together. But yeah, let's do the 30-minute consult. And while you're there, I do have some freebies up there.
Yes.
And one of them is a downloadable ebook on some of the things that authors need to know to market. And I also have the video there. Thank you for putting that up. Polly Litovsky of My Word Publishing and I did a free webinar back in March, right when we went into isolation. We were both getting a little bit crazy with, felt like we needed to reach out to our clients and our fellow authors. And so we did social distancing marketing for authors. It was a free webinar, and it's on my website. It's under my blog. And you can watch it there or on YouTube. And there's some downloads that you can get as well. And it's really just some ways that you can market now, a lot of what I talked about today, and give you a little bit of inspiration, because everybody who was on the call, we had about 90 people on there, were contributing their ideas. Yeah, we had a blast. It was a lot of fun. I thought it was going to be a short-lived webinar in terms of relevancy, but it's still very relevant.
Oh, yeah.
So by all means, help yourself to that, and hopefully you'll learn a few things. And if you are looking to produce your book, Polly at My Word Publishing is a great person to talk to. She is a publishing coach, and she and I team up on webinars and classes periodically.
Polly Litovsky.
Litovsky, yeah, mywordpublishing.com. So her contact information is also on the webinar.
Okay. Which is the link right here. Awesome. Great info. Thank you very much, Mary.
Oh, you're very welcome. This was fun to talk about. This is my favorite topic, in case you didn't know.
It shows. Let's see if we have any more questions here. And checking on Facebook. Just 1 minute.
Yes, we have several people that are really appreciative of your information. They're saying thank you.
Well, good. I hope they picked up a few tips, and if I can help them, give me shoot me an email and we'll set up a time to chat.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mary. It's very informative. Absolutely, lots of value that you provided today, and we thank you for coming on our show.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me, Pat. And by the way, next on my to-do list, I need to read your new manuscript.
Yes, Mary and I are working together.
Yes.
We are a team.
And I love her book so far, by the way, everybody. So, you'll hear more about that moving forward.
Thank you.
It's coming up.
Yeah, before we run out of time, we have, let's announce our next session.
Yes.
Pearl, one of your friends.
All right, next Wednesday. It's really about captivating photography that would help you enrich your life and business by the award-winning photographer Miss Marsha Dogan. So we're looking forward to having her to show us some amazing images and how to produce those pretty effortlessly, if you're surprised to know these days. So
mark it on your
back in
calendar.
next week, yes, same time on Wednesday,
Exactly.
the 24th of June.
We always end with a quote, and so our quote for this evening is, branding is how you tell your story. Marketing is compelling people to take part.
Sounds very, very intriguing.
Very true.
Yes.
Why marketing is so important.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And with that in mind, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Mary, for joining us.
Thanks for asking me.
First, for coming to our show, and see you next week. Take care and be safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.